And welcome to the second series of the weekend, G2 versus BDS. We have a Paladin, a Bard, and whatever Mark is cosplaying as today on the desk for us.
Oh wait,
what would you be?
The outfits we're wearing?
No, it was just more like...
I'm the wizard.
You're the wizard?
They call me Zaza the wizard.
Okay, Harry. Whatever you say, you've got the glasses forward as well, haven't you? Anyway, let's get on into draft. Winner of this goes through to Worlds as one of our top 3 seeds. The loser still has a chance through the lower bracket. They'll play up against SK, I believe, depending on, I think if G2 lose, wouldn't they be higher in the seed? Loser plays up against SK. Anyway, G2 going to remove Olaf and Talia to start us off. Draven and Kalista banned away by Team BDS. Is it just going to be all AD carries trying to stop Hans Sommer from running away with the game?
It wouldn't make sense to ban Draven and Kalista if you're just going to give him a Xayah first pick, right? I feel like that would just be an easy win for them. I mean, Zeri looks like it's a quite high prio champ as well, so we'll see if that's something Crownie wants to run. They're going to take away the Jack, so the Xayah and the Zeri are up. Rell's up, Maokai is available.
And Kai'Sa's still available as well, depending on where you want to go. There's the Rell first for G2, locked in immediately.
Even when we look back at playoffs, this was something that G2 heavily prioritized. The Renekton, something we saw a lot from XL yesterday, and the Ivern paired alongside it, something we saw a lot from Mad in terms of the early prioritization. But it seems that BDS have come prepared into this week. Let's see how G2 respond. With the Xayah still up and available, they could choose to grab themselves a strong bot lane if they wanted.
Kled!
Oh, of course!
Okay.
The BrokenBlade Kled. This was something we used to see from BrokenBlade a lot. I forget which, I think it was either in winter or in spring. But we did see this come out from him a lot as an answer into Renekton. The LeBlanc immediate follow-up with that means the G2 heavily prioritizing having strong solo laners and looking to try and get advantage on the top side.
Does Nuke just go Azir here or something? Just play the scaling? I feel like you could drop the... no, they're going to go for the Kai'Sa. Could drop the Mad Lion strat, you know, just play the Ivern Azir. Just play for scaling up against this. But yeah, it needs some lockdown, I feel like. Something like Nautilus would have done them favors too, especially up against this LeBlanc. I feel like G2 are definitely going in when it comes to engage, but I'm surprised to see G2 sacrifice their bot lane. Oftentimes on blue side in 2-3, we see the Kog'Maw Braum come out, especially with these AD bans, and now up against the Kai'Sa. We'll see what they decide to run. I mean, with their Sejuani ban, they still have a lot of options available.
Seems the BDS still concerned about where this Rell could go. Of course, G2 have shown that they're more than happy to have Yike and Mikyx both play the champion. And I was looking at that Maokai and considering if G2 wanted a little bit more team fighting power, they could round things out with the Maokai. Of course, not the strongest pairing that you'll often see with the LeBlanc. Usually you see things a little bit more aggressive to have that strong mid-jungle duo, especially if they do want to try and funnel more resources onto the top side of the map. But we'll have to wait and see with the Analyst ban. Of course, this is something that we've been seeing a lot as an answer to the Rell.
I'd be surprised if they don't ban Nautilus as well. I feel like you're just giving them free engage support. And as much as Rakan would be the next best in line in terms of engage supports, it's not as good as Nautilus at locking down that LeBlanc, which I think they definitely need to find something to stop her.
And not Kai'Sa, something that we've seen so many times across the years, so powerful in that bot lane 2v2. The Rell obviously still a flex here for G2. They've actually split it perfectly across summer between Mikyx and Yike, 3 games apiece. There's the Nautilus ban by Team BDS themselves.
Why? They can just ban Rakan for free now. So now, unless you've got something else, that doesn't make much sense because you're banning Nautilus to pick Rakan. Now they take away Rakan. What's your next engage support? What's your next lockdown for the LeBlanc? I feel like if G2 banned one, you could just pick away the other. And if they ban neither, you can take the Nautilus anyway. So we'll see what BDS's angle here is, looking towards a mid laner perhaps. Would be surprised to see Akali into the LeBlanc. Could be Kai'Sa mid. Yeah, it's going to be Kai'Sa mid.
I mean, well, I mean, Kai'Sa did receive a couple of nerfs, specifically to her AP ratios, but it seems that BDS are saying she's still powerful enough in the mid lane, strong wave clear, good scaling, a threat, someone that can deal with the LeBlanc rather. We'll see if Caps allows him to get through the laning phase unscathed. We need to be looking now at the bot lane. What has G2 prepared? The Braum is something that Mikyx played a lot during playoffs to mitigate any sort of engage tools. Of course, they do already have both the Kled and the Rell to start off fights if they want to. And it looks like that they will be putting that Rell into the jungle. But what AD carry will they lock in for Hans?
Is it Kog'Maw?
It might just be Kog'Maw. Could be Sivir as well. Saw Kazi have a very strong performance on it yesterday.
A lot of move speed if they're going to go for the Sivir with Kled. Just running at them. Oh, we got baited for a second there. It's the Kog'Maw.
I thought it was just like a nice shout out to Gen G from this morning, but
okay, this makes more sense. Now I understand the Nautilus Rakan bans, because if they blinded Nautilus on 4, they'd be scared of the Kog'Maw Braum lane, so they leave support last pick And now I can see why they did it. They've gone for Zeri Lulu, and they're playing the Ivern as well. This is a very heavy scaling 4-man with the Renekton just kind of on his own, wanting to fight back, but not able to, it feels like. Oftentimes when you play Ivern, you really want a melee support. You want someone that can go in with the Daisy, and that's lacking. So I feel like the front line for BDS is going to get shredded, especially up against the Kog'Maw Braum. Need to make sure that they can get some DPS out and get uptime on these carries.
If I was a Renekton, I'd be really miserable looking at what I was playing into.
Braum,
LeBlanc ability, like it's just, you're never going to get onto that Kog'Maw unless you can find a crazy flank. Yeah. But as you rightly said, the range and the poke is very favorable for BDS. Zeri and Kai'Sa both have very effective range thanks to the W from the Kai'Sa and just, well, the damage that comes out from Zeri. We'll see if BDS can get to that late game team fighting, because these solo laners of G2 are going to look to cause chaos in the early game.
They really are, and I'm a bit worried for BDS. This is a lot of scaling up against G2, and oftentimes you don't see teams go for pure scaling. Normally we see them fight back with things like the Kalista themselves, so we'll see how G2 decides to snowball the game.
It's one of those things where I think in Europe, a lot of teams struggle to punish scaling comps in the early game, something that Mad took advantage of against XL yesterday. We'll see if G2 can do it today as we jump into game 1.
Let's get jiggy with it as we get on to Summoner's Rift for our first game of the day.
So one of the things that we were just talking about is how in Europe sometimes teams struggle to be able to punish early game, scaling compositions in the early game, but G2 is not one of those teams. When we kind of look at their early game performance and their ability to build up leads, G2 is just one of the best teams that we have in the league of being able to find advantages and build massive leads. We did have a graphic, which we'll show you in a second, but basically they're incredibly dominant. This team is very violent in the early game. They're very good at finding kills and not really getting punished for it. And there's no really, like, they find them pretty much everywhere across the map. It can vary which lane that they're playing through.
Yeah, I think generally just a very powerful team in the early game, and as both of you have already highlighted, trying to play something that scales into them is going to be a little bit tricky. I'm wondering where we'll see Nuke go with his build. As we said, AP Kai'Sa a little bit nerfed across 13, 14, and 15, so a possibility that we'll go towards a more conventional build. But
you have to imagine the Static Shiv will still be...
I mean, yeah, I think Static Shiv's all around, man. Like, you just give those out like candy. It's like sweets. But I wonder whether we'll see Nuke go for the more traditional now, I guess, physical damage build.
I'm also surprised to see Glacial Augment on Ivern. Normally you see Airy. I just looked at a couple solo queue players, 90% of them roughly playing Airy, but we have got one Glacial Augment here and there. I guess that's just to try and disengage more, try and stop this front line from being able to collapse onto your carries. Don't have much front line, so it makes sense to try to slow them in their tracks as BrokenBlade's off his mount, just trading onto Adam.
One of the things I was hoping to see more of in Europe was teams trying to punish Ivern in the early game. Of course, due to his pathing, there are windows and ways in which you can look to attack. But it looks like when you have this Rell into the Ivern, very unlikely to see that. BrokenBlade continuing to bully up on the top side of the map. Going to get level 2 in just a second. There it is. And Adam's going to be forced to play much more defensively as Labrov and Crownie have pushed to the bot side of the map.
It's hard for Adam to farm even. BrokenBlade's just standing in the wave. He's going to get back on his mount as well. Now it becomes even more difficult when he goes for those melee creeps. He can just, on level 3, just decide to EQ forwards onto him. Doesn't have the E just yet, I think. And yeah, we'll see how this top matchup goes. The Ivern will oftentimes the side that he starts on is this.
I think.
Maybe they're... Yeah, Yike's going to walk into his Raptors perhaps, but he's going to be able to just tick them off. Maybe he's going to go towards mid. Nuke's not level 3 yet. Caps is.
Going towards the mid lane. The bush comes down from Sheo. Nuke does have the flash. Chains immediately from Caps. The knockup as well with the stun. Nuke holding onto his flash and doesn't even need to use it. Forced below 100 HP, but able to walk away.
No damage there. No ignite on LeBlanc either. And now it's Sheo's turn to pull the trigger on a gank. BrokenBlade's trying to crash his wave. Close to level 4, but Adam has the rage.
Remember, he can always dismount in the middle of this fight, and he will if he goes below that half HP. Adam gets him down there. Sheo, he hit a minion with the root caller there. Pathing on those minions being a little bit tricky for Ivern to work his way around.
He's just standing there fighting back, getting close at
full Kled cosplay.
No, it is. I feel like you always never really know the limits of Kled unless you're a Kled one trick. You get him off your mount, his mount, and you're like, yes, we can get the kill, and you realize, oh, I'm dead. And no escape with the chain as well if you decide to flash. So Nuke holds onto the summoner. It's only Yike that lost his flash in these exchanges.
Go forward, flash onto Labrov, flash heal away from him. No concussive blows yet. Crownie 2 shots away from being stunned up as well, but in the end, 2 summoners for 2 in the bottom lane.
Labrov now, no summoners. So overall, I think a pretty favorable trade for the bot lane of G2. We'll see how things play out a little bit later. Sheo just covering mid to help get that push out for Nuke. Also has his eyes on that bot Crab, who's likely going to be pathing that way. But I think that early play from Yike was trying to get those summoner spells out. Caedrel was just talking about it, and the fact that they couldn't quite get that flash from Nuke means that Yike not having his flash makes his early ganks a little bit more difficult. But G2 ideally not going to be, I mean, in an ideal world, they want to be trying to snowball through caps already, but Adam, a little bit low. We'll see if Yike can make anything happen.
Oh, the X-Flash pulled back, tries to slice and dice away. We'll get the flash. BrokenBlade jousting under the turret. Takes a couple of tower shots, but able to walk away from that one.
So the flash burnt. BrokenBlade can happily take a reset on this wave as it pushes into him, but Adam has TP, so he can likely crash it. Bit of an awkward state. And Caps TP back as well. A lot of static shivs like you guys are talking about being built up here, and that just adds to so much wave clear on BDS with Kai'Sa, Zeri. Both of them are on the wave. If you're sieging, they both hit the wave's gone.
I like that we're seeing already from both junglers, though, a lot of activity on the map, both constantly looking for plays wherever they can. Bot lane's being left in isolation as the two continue to farm. Crownie is a player that, honestly, didn't have the strongest of performances when we look back at Summer. He was, I don't want to say a weak link, but when you kind of compare his performance in Spring, where he was quite comfortably rated as the best performing AD carry, and a large part of why they made it to the finals, his poor performance in Summer was definitely a surprise. We'll see if he's been able to bounce back with the break.
Mikyx puts up the Unbreakable. Crownie not yet tagged with that concussive blows. Extra bit of push helping out, but Crownie has to flash the wall with LeBlanc moving first from mid. BDS decide to back away, but now they see that Adam's here. Is here, and it's going to be a 5v5 on the bottom side. BrokenBlade no TP to answer this. Adam can try and keep Caps at bay while BDS start up the Dragon once again. Yike, though, in the pit. You can take has the smite. Can just try and steal this away, and Yike gets it! Shadowing strike into smite is enough for G2 to secure the first objective of the series.
So Yike steals that one away, and BrokenBlade just hitting top tower. Adam's dropping minions, giving up a lot of this lead. And the push out that he was given by Sheo to just try and invest it in getting themselves a dragon, but they don't get it. BrokenBlade gets a nice little lead up here, 400 gold to him. Should even out slowly with the creep wave underneath the tower.
One of the things we talked about in draft was how G2 want to leverage their strong solo laners to find early leads, right? And one of the ways in which they did that was Yike trying to look for an early gank to force the flash out from Nuke in the early levels. But another way they want to do that is BDS want to try and get ahead of the plays when it comes to around these Drakes, and if they can secure them, it kind of stops them being forced into these fights later on so they can continue to scale. But the fact that G2 could already secure that, and Adam wasted so much time, only plays further into the advantage of G2. Of course, no significant early game lead for the time being. BDS don't find themselves in an awkward spot, but around that third dragon time is really when G2 is going to be spiking, and that's when BDS need to be careful.
See Sheo trying to work his way up towards this top side. Ivern obviously very good at sealing away camps. You just channel the passive, smite, and the camp is gone. That's exactly what he does. Across the lanes, a slight lead for BrokenBlade in the top lane, about 30 CS up. This Kled played 4 times this year, Vedi. 75% win rate. I think we also saw Caps play at mid one game as well, when he was playing the Sejuanis and the Kled to try and help Yike on the Bel'Veth.
A few times. Finn, obviously the initial pioneer in Europe, but a lot of other players picking it up and adapting it. Unsurprising that Caps kind of plays everything. Yeah, okay, so we're kind of looking at neutrals now. 26 seconds on the Herald will be the likely next objective that these teams look to fight for. And again, BDS in an ideal world, they'll want to try and contest it, denied away from G2, because it's a big part of being able to snowball the early game. And G2 wouldn't be surprised to see Hansama or Mikyx rotate up to contest.
G2 getting a lot of trades onto bot side. Wave's in an awkward state. Crownie kind of wants to step up and clear it, but doesn't have flash, so they're calling Sheo down. Yike's on that top side. Should be able to start up the Herald pretty easily as soon as you see Sheo there. Despite him being down a level, I think Cap's ready to move. BB can push out that top wave, and as much as he needs to base, he can just stand in fog, and all the information's gone for BDS. So giving this up for free kind of hurts, but I think their top side 3v3 is losing at the moment. Looking at, you know, Kai'Sa level 7 versus LeBlanc, the amount they can offer in a 3v3 skirmish.
I agree. It would be a gamble to contest this. So it looks like they're going to go for free. The question is, where does G2 actually want to invest it? Top, they've been able to secure a good number of plates. Of course, if they can unlock mid, it unlocks caps, and if you can start roaming around the map, that also gives G2 a lot of power. But maybe they just want to funnel Handsummer. Maybe they feel that he needs to get more gold, and they want to try and put more pressure down that side of the map.
It feels awkward because there's no real plays to be made anywhere other than top for BDS. There's nothing they can do in the Lulu lane.
Yep.
Mid has no setup whatsoever, it's just a lane to cover. So Sheo's only option is top, and as much as you can sit bot side, then Yike can start diving at him. So it's best for him to be top side, let the bot lane scale. And the fact that they've dropped both neutral objectives really stings. Caps' space will get stopped, but I mean, it's a bit of awkward now. So for Caps, doesn't have TP. Does he stay and catch that wave on low mana? That means Yike gets invaded, but it's an Ivern, so it's not the end of the world.
Nice trade there from BrokenBlade.
They're dropping the rope. Is going to pull Adam back. Does still have the Dominus. BrokenBlade dismounts. Skull, bit of a coward there as he runs away, but no dive likely, even though Sheo is able to steal away this Gromp. Yike in the vicinity to help out his top laner if needed. LeBlanc's going to try and stop the back, and I don't think G2 knew that that bush was warded.
I think they were prepared for it, though. The way in which Mikyx threw out that ultimate. Sheo.
Okay. Daisy went forward, and Adam thought that was the go signal, but BrokenBlade backed away immediately. Adam burns his splash, so does BrokenBlade, so in the end, just a summoner for a summoner in the top lane.
Yeah, a bit of a confusing play. The creep was in the way of the Q. I mean, Sheo could have like flashed forwards, Q'd, and then smited the minion behind him if they really wanted to make that play happen. But yeah, I don't think they had the damage anyway. It's not like Ivern offers that much. They force BrokenBlade back and get his flash, so it's all even again.
It's a surprisingly slow game, gentlemen. I was expecting more violence.
Yeah, so was I.
Too.
I watched the LCK go at a kill a minute earlier today. As Crownie dashes in, but the Unbreakable Wall just too strong in this sort of situation. Yike coming in as well to bolster the defense of this tower. Crownie and LeBlanc will back away. TP invested by G2 as he's going to charge behind the tower. Flash Magnet Storm. Crownie trying to get away, but there's no time on his flash. Still 7 seconds away from safety as G2 open up the scoring in this game.
It's such a beautiful timing. Crownie's flash is roughly 10-15 seconds away before the play starts. There's a ward in a perfect position for the Kled TP2, and it's just past 10 minutes, so he can TP2 it. Great punish from G2 and a little bit of an overstep from BDS trying to crash that wave.
Yike, the way that he initiated that play as well gave BDS very few options. Even on the off chance that they mistimed the flash and they happened to be up, he still had the W available to follow up on any potential flash. So you can see G2 very committed to the play. They make it work. Early use of the teleport, not something we often see since the TP changes to 10 minutes when they become available to kind of go all over the map. But G2 finding big advantages here in the early game.
Yeah, I feel like BDS need to punch back a bit now and put a ward behind bot and get Adam down if G2's bot lane decides to push out. Drake's up as well, so he can TP down there with BrokenBlade showing on top wave, so that should get them this dragon. The only pain point is this should be their second dragon on paper, but it's only going to be the first. G2 kind of fake contesting a bit to slow them down. I don't think there's much they can do in this situation. Adam's going to base here, and I think this next 5 seconds will determine a lot. Does Adam TP top? I think he might have to. And if he does TP top, the bot side is going to be an absolute disaster for BDS when Yike pays a visit back down there.
The whole sequence really comes from G2 stealing away that first dragon, knowing they have that bit of a cushion of safety. Rift Tail is going to be used here by Yike in the top lane, but that allowed them to then make the play and not worry about going 2 dragons down. So it's only a dragon apiece between these two. Rift Tail charges in, a 2,000 gold lead now for G2. BrokenBlade already a K ahead of Adam.
Great start overall for G2. But we kind of expected this from BDS's comp. Caedrel talked a lot about it earlier. The early game, they just don't have options, right? This is very much a scaling composition. The fact that they've been able to get a Drake should slow G2 down a little bit. Mikyx looking for a fight.
It's going to be a collapse. Mikyx's overstepping because the rest of G2 are on their way to collapse to this. You can see Yike coming in, Nuke dives forward with the Killer Instinct, and now Yike is in a perfect position for the engage. Caps coming in from the side as well, and Crownie is immediately locked up, stunned up, and shut out of the fight. He's got 200 HP left, but not for long as G2 collapse.
BDS tried to make a play, forcing Mikyx out of that tri-bush. And as much as they're there first with the Killer Instinct from Nuke, Mikyx just flashes out, and then they're all stacked up. Sheo might die as well if the chain connects. Going to miss the first one there. Is Cap, doesn't have a second ready, flashes away from the Rell W. Should be all right by the looks of it.
Just
a couple of crits jumping in though.
Right. Yeah, static shoot doing work.
And I think the game's just blown wide open now. It's just a case of how G2 control it. With Herald up in 1 minute 30, they need to get that crack open mid.
And you could see the idea from BDS. They thought the Handsummer and Mikyx were overextending. They thought that maybe they could get a punish. There was a window to get it. But then the collapse from Yike and Caps was absolutely devastating, as BDS couldn't disengage in time. And you just look at the bottom of your screen. I don't know if... Oh, he can.
BrokenBlade dominance. The bear trap on the BrokenBlade can drop the aggro, jumps up Skull, and it's a solo in the top lane.
That was so clean by BrokenBlade. Just Kled mechanics coming out, making sure that on the remount, follows through with the ult. Manages to land on top of Adam. We're going to see a replay of this Tribush fight, though. So
again, you look at the positioning right now. Nuke and Sheo have advantage on the rotation to bot. The only problem is if G2's bot lane can survive, this ends up becoming a pincer collapse, and BDS are right in the middle of it.
But they don't have CC. But their CC is very like skill shot reliant in terms of, you know, Ivern Q, and if that lands, that's basically it. You can kind of connect. And also, they don't really have damage. They're playing ADC Zeri at level 7, level 8 up against things like LeBlanc and Braum and Rell with so much base damage and CC.
And they don't have vision either. Watching through this early game, BDS, most of their map has been dark, and G2 have done a really good job of denying vision where they can. It was the control ward earlier that allowed BrokenBlade to TP in behind them. And now G2, I mean, this is more what we expected, really, coming into this series. Having watched G2 dispatch XL 3 weeks ago, now they're on the way to dispatching BDS as well. Last time these two teams met, it was a dominant 2-0 from G2 as well, all the way back in the summer group stages. So BDS have had time to try and work out exactly how they wanted to take on this match, but it's a very tough opponent that they find themselves facing today.
I mean, let's not forget it was G2 that chose BDS as opponents. When we look at their overall win rate, it is very much in favor of G2. All-time 10 wins.
Wow. A piece?
Series, yeah. 2
But
wins in
this
favor
year-
of G2, and then this year, 7 wins to 1.
Yeah.
And now Nuke is in danger.
He's in a lot of danger as BrokenBlade starts to collapse. The killer instinct out, but Yike once again. Oh, Magna Storm just a little bit short, but the charge coming in from the Kled should mean that Nuke can't get away from this. BrokenBlade going for Sheo first as they lock him up underneath the tower. Next up, concussive blows for the CC, and Nuke will fall to the bear trap. 5 kills now for Kled. 5 kills for BrokenBlade.
This is why you can't play scaling against a team like G2. You know, I can kind of get maybe a game 1, you can say test the waters a bit, let's just play scaling. Maybe they make mistakes, maybe they throw away the early game, maybe they scuff a dive and you can get back into it. But Kai'Sa and Zeri need so much time to come online. Ivern and Lulu provide absolutely nothing. You know, if you have Ivern Nautilus, at least you have a melee support so you can actually start fighting back in the early stages. And then the Renekton's just kind of sitting on his island, just like, guys, I don't really have support the entire game. I'm not surprised Kled can run everywhere and fight every single lane because they have setup everywhere. And so it's just a case of BDS. Their comms are just, you know, we're scaling. We're going to have to take some time. I'd love to see BDS come back to the next game with a lot of firepower, but it's not over yet. They have a lot of wave clear and a lot of scaling. It's just, in this current meta, if you fall behind, you have to fight objectives even when you're at a deficit. You have to contest dragons, you have to contest Baron setups. If you don't, you give them so much breathing room. And the Dragon Soul eventually outscales whatever you've thrown at them. And the vision just chokes you out of your own jungle, so you lose so much gold in jungle camps.
I mean, this game 1 for me is going to be about what did G2's end game look like, right? Can they properly set up for the Baron? Can they cleanly end this game out? Because this is their game to lose from this point. We've already talked so much about the scaling on BDS that if G2 do make enough mistakes, there are ways in which BDS can come back into this game. But we're going to need to see some KTT1 level of steals in order to drag this
I'm just
one
going to say, I watched the LCK Finals earlier today. Spoilers, Gen G won 3-0. That finished 5 hours ago, and I think that was less over than this game already is, okay? You can put all the hope you want into BDS, but G2 just tower dive for an absolute year, and they're the ones getting out alive. And it is Adam getting locked up. He pops the Dominus, just about able to escape with the wild growth. LeBlanc forced up towards the top.
Hold up, Bennett. Hold up.
Maybe Crownie has an opportunity here as BrokenBlade's forced low, but the unbreakable wall comes in now. And G2 exactly that. Caps will get shut down. And BDS, it was a quick cast to curse.
That was a huge one.
I'm an ambassador for Team BDS.
No, I know. You just gave Kai'Sa 2 shutdown to you.
Yes, I knew it all along. You just never lose faith.
You just gave Kai'Sa 2 shutdowns. You gave him a dragon, an objective bounty. You made them stall the game. You got some summoners out. Like, how'd you do that? Medic.
It's magic.
It's magic.
Magic. I'm a Harry Houdini.
Okay, do it again.
That is a beautiful caster curse if I've ever seen one.
What is this overdive from G2 though? Like, what are they doing?
Sheo flashes over the wall. BrokenBlade's like, that's fine, I can still kill you. Good stopwatch there from Sheo to buy time. BrokenBlade's then forced to flash out. They think, wait, we can still win this fight. We have enough CC and damage to get the kill onto Adam. Then with the Lulu ultimate and Sheo's shield, it actually keeps him alive.
my favorite part of all of this is like everyone from G2 is like, let's run away. And Caps on the right's like, I've arrived.
and
yeah, keep running.
Or Caps, he's like, team, I'm here to help. Team, I'm in danger. And then he loses his life. Yike, respect. He tries to Hex Flash out. Doesn't quite get it.
Crab Rave.
That Caps moment reminds me of a joke. There are two campers in the woods, right? And they see a bear.
Yeah.
And one of them bends over to tie up his shoelaces. And the guy's like, why are you tying your shoelaces? There's no way you're going to outrun this bear. And the other guy's just like, I just have to outrun you. Yeah. And that's what happened with G2.
Red Bull lad?
We just have to outrun you, you know? Is a Red Bull happen?
Yeah, Caps just rocks up and dies, gives over a shutdown. So, I think the important thing for the Kai'Sa Zeri is when are they online? And I think Navori plus Nashor's Tooth on top of the shivs, then they can start to really pump out some damage. So now Nuke has his W&E upgrade with those two items, and Crownie will have Navori soon, you'd hope, for BDS, but Caps is
so
quite
if
far
I'm
ahead in
G2,
levels.
I'm thinking about this 45-second Baron. I think they can just look to force it on spawn, you know? Like, just force the fact that BDS haven't quite gotten those items that they need yet. Try and force a fight very early on. We saw them, I believe it was against SK, where they did this against SK, and then SK actually took the strat themselves, then started forcing Baron the second that it would spawn at 20 minutes. But those early Barons are something that I think are worth taking into consideration. Han Summer's base is going to get interrupted there. Great play from BDS ahead of the Baron. But reset's already coming through now from G2. Mikyx, good block.
Yeah, you can tell by the resets, because BB's resetting. Hans is basing for his second item. There's the Hurricane, and Caps is ready on 2 items. So I think what you'll see from G2, like you just highlighted there, is they're going to come out, they're going to push out mid and top, and they're probably just going to start forcing Nash with Kled ult. Adam's already grouping, preemptively guessing that he doesn't want to have to waste TP here, and I'm actually surprised. BrokenBlade 5-0, 1.5k gold up. Look at the levels though. Adam's almost level 14. Over Mikyx.
Flashing forward, here's the charge as well. LeBlanc tries to flash away, they need to get behind anyone to escape. Crownie has to splash the wall. Adam looking for a flank position, popped the Dominus already, but can't get in there yet. Root Caller only onto Mikyx as the Riptail charges into the mid lane.
What use though? What? How many ultimates? We saw Rell. Oh, Adam.
BrokenBlade. Not quite dismounted yet.
Yeah, they got Zeri summoners. I think that's what G2 wanted. They get this mid tower too, but BDS are actually, they got some damage, you know. If G2 overextend and don't get that kill.
Hex flash from Yike into the Shadowing Strike, and that's enough to take out the Lulu. Adam forced under the towers. Crownie kills Caps. The lightning crash, a little bit more damage than Caps expected as he dashed forward.
He's arrived again.
I mean, that was... I'm going to need to see a replay. My initial impression is that was kind of it from Caps. But, you know, let's check the tape.
It's the season finals, okay? Sometimes you have craps, sometimes you have claps. At the moment, all we have is crabs, okay? So that was a crabs play from him.
I see. Okay, well, let's see how crabby of a play it was. So the chain will connect. This initial part from Caps, great. So he sets his sights on Crownie here, and he's like, dash in.
Ivern Q hits him as he W'd on the ult.
Well played by Sheo there then. Well played. Good punish.
There we are.
The
It was crabs. There it is. Oh boy. And Adam's just finished the Sterax, so yeah, slowly getting some items here, BDS. And they also have 2 dragons, so that slows down the Ocean Soul stacking.
Do you know, it's one of those situations where even though there's a 6k gold deficit, as casters we always say, but it hasn't gotten bigger. And if you are BDS, that's good news.
But to be honest, it is really good news, actually. Like, as much as they don't have frontline, if G2 overcommits and BrokenBlade doesn't connect and get a kill, these 2 AD carries are going to shred you.
Yep.
So they need to make sure they get that initial kill here at G2. They have the gold lead to do it. They have the tools to do it. It's just a case of whether they can pull it off. A lot of shields on BDS, and there's no real Serpent's Fang build available for G2 unless the Kled goes in that direction.
As soon as BDS see that BrokenBlade is in a side lane, they push up, try and gain some control over this river.
The problem BDS have right now is that they are overstacking. Nuke has the TP, but they're actually sending him top, which means that G2 are going to get a free tower in the top lane. BDS now want to try and trade this for the tier 1 in mid. I don't think Hans and Mikyx will have the wave clear.
Going, Adams and behind Summer trying to get onto that backline, stunned up with concussive blows though, and the Magnet Storm will lock him up for days. Adam doing everything he can, but he can't do enough as the charge comes in from BrokenBlade. He jumps onto Crownie, no summoners left on the Zeri right now. The living artillery almost finds its mark, but can't quite find its man. Nuke forced away as well, flash forward from Hans Summer, but the concussive blow is stun, and that's 2 for G2.
Looks like they're going to move towards Baron as well. Sheo's alive and he has the smite, but his bot lane is so low HP. They have no wards, no vision, nothing at all. And that's going to be the Baron for G2. Like I said, 23 minutes in. Gotta look at that fight again because Caps arrived and he died straight away again.
I mean, it was just a great play from Mikyx though, because the idea from BDS was G2 is split. Let's kill Hansama. Maybe if we get this kill in the tower, we can quickly convert this into a Baron. This is how we win the game. But the second Adam went in, the ultimate came out. They're not going to give it to Caps. 1 second.
I think they did. I think the HUD was just a second late.
Okay, fair. But look at, watch Mikyx here in this play. So you'll see Adam diving straight onto the back line. Look at this ultimate straight onto the back. And he's zoning 3 members away as then Caps joins in. Now Caps does get Polymorph kind of shut down, but this provides enough peel for Hansama and Yike to get that initial kill onto Adam, and then the second the BrokenBlade arrives, it just becomes a chase from G2.
Actually, they didn't wait for Caps. They didn't wait
No,
for
they
him.
didn't.
They could have waited 1 second and they would have given it a buff.
He's just gonna die.
He's just gonna W it and die again. It's just a distraction at this point.
It was I was trying to bet the comms are like, Caps, are you going to die in the next fight? And he's like, no, yeah, probably. You know?
Okay, let's just get this extra 1 second of Baron quicker to deny it from you.
You always talk about tempo, okay? That's, you know, ultimate min-maxing of tempo right there.
Check the clock.
Caps now pushing in the side lane as the 4th dragon of the game. We'll go over to G2, only their second as Sheo looks for an engage. Root Caller lands, but Mikyx relatively tanky, even with Crownie putting some bullets into his back. We'll be able to walk away for the moment.
G2 needs to play on top waves. I think they've just realized that now. Bot tier 2 died before Nash even was started, and they realized, wait, if we're playing mid to bot, what are we actually sieging? And they realize they're only really sieging a mid tier 2. They need to play on 2 lanes, so BrokenBlade's going to push out top. Caps can afford to hover around mid while they go 4-man towards top and move into BrokenBlade's wave. Maybe look for a fight if BDS overextend. No flash on the Zeri or the Kai, so they'll have timers for both.
Yeah, you'll see G2, I mean, obviously clearing out this vision on the top side of the map is important to be able to play through mid into top, but also they cleared out that vision on bot side to give Caps that fog of war to play through. Remember, in the later game, this LeBlanc becomes a big poke champion.
Lulu in the bush.
Oh, it's so sneaky.
Waiting for him to W forwards and polymorph him.
Won't be able to find much off the back of it though, as the top side of BDS's jungle becomes completely, or falls rather, into G2 control.
Mikyx, Glacial Fisher goes down. There's Daisy as well. Sixth man in defense. Even has the number 06 on her back. She will...
Is that intended?
I have no idea, but it was cool in the moment and I said it, you know?
Yeah. Cool spot.
Daisy goes into the bush, trying to be stealthy. Fails her sleight of hand check as they're locked up here. So much damage already coming out from G2. Adam's still healthy enough though, as BrokenBlade takes the tower. Crownie dashes across the wall. The cleanse has been used as Caps goes in once again. Yike tanks another tower shot, and G2 able to get 1 kill out of that fight.
I kind of like how G2 approached that mid tier 2. You know what they did was they... BrokenBlade should be alright here. Their instinct's available, but
it just keeps
about
interrupting these backs.
Just get hits again. Yeah, G2 fake engaged top, so all of BDS collapsed, and then they moved to the mid wave. And then as soon as BDS arrived to the mid tier 2 too late as it's dying, they engaged onto them, maybe catching them off guard. So
BB has TP. Nuke could go in, Trigger Seed on him in case he wants to go forward with the Killer Instinct. Camp's still around.
And here's what I will say. How many AD carries were banned? 2, 3?
Yeah, there was
something like
Calista Draven, I believe.
Hansama's Kog'Maw still gets away with it. Let's not forget, back in the playoffs of summer, this man was doing monster damage. He was averaging like 1,000 damage per game. He is deathless currently, along with Mikyx. This bot lane, touted as the best bot lane in the league. Of course, BrokenBlade, the biggest story of this game 1. But Hansama in that last fight, he just stood there and he just barked at him.
Yeah.
And his damage is only getting scarier.
You have to give credit to Mikyx as well, because the reason that Hansama can just stand there and bark is obviously his positioning and his spacing is exemplary, but playing Braum is not a fun task. 9 times out of 10, what do? You put up a wall. Mikyx is putting up that wall exceptionally. And he does it every time they play Kog'Maw Braum. Like,
Can you tell what role Medic
puts up the
means?
wall.
I mean,
It's not fun. It's like playing a cleric in Baldur's Gate, okay? What am I there to do? Oh, here, bless. Oh, here, have a heal.
But your role is so important. The
It's-
damage dealers.
Oh, it is very important, but
He's just saying that to make you keep
sometimes,
playing
yes,
it.
He just
Don't
wants me
tell
to
him
keep...
that. You gotta stroke their ego.
This guy that didn't want to give in to the illithid powers, you know?
He's so important, Medic. Good job.
It's like your campaign's on a wild ride.
It really is. We had a 1-hour discussion the other day.
We got into a fight.
It was a proper fight. It was great.
No spoilers, though.
No spoilers.
Yike looking for a flank here.
Nice transition, Betty.
He's looking
That was
for one.
great.
He's looking. His eyes.
Don't spoil it, Betty.
No
Don't spoil
spoilers.
it.
Who knows what's going to happen?
How do I get out of Baldur's Gate back to the game?
Yikes, looking for... Oh, here we go. The charge coming forward. Labrov does have the flash. Has the wall as well to get away. Shadowing Strike across will catch out Crownie, but that's BrokenBlade's ultimate down for a little while as they weren't able to find the engage.
They have to wait for Nash. They really need to wait for BDS to walk up because they're just going to stand at their towers in this moment in time. And G2 can't afford to walk up and hit the towers because of the double static shift. The wave just gets cleared instantly. There's nothing to really siege unless they can hard engage. And diving them, do you really want to risk it? There's no point, I think, G2 with 1 minute on the Baron. Just a minute of patience. I'm sure they've got that somewhere in there.
Catch the bot wave for BrokenBlade, the top bot side of the map being cleared out. And as you rightly said, the Baron becomes the next major objective. BDS, though, they have a window here with BrokenBlade showing bot. It gives them a window to put some vision down. But what is G2 going to do? Immediately move back into the top side and start clearing their vision out.
Ooh, Labrov actually cheekily got a ward, a couple of wards down. Caps.
Yeah, Labrov's cheekily going to have to... Oh, okay, so he was fortunate enough that Caps thought there were more people in that bush. Because if there weren't more people in that bush, Labrov is going down.
Caps has jumped in and died enough times now to realize, like,
maybe not this time.
20 seconds on Baron. Do I want to jump into that bush and chunk someone?
But even though he has been struggling a little bit in the team fights, he's still 3.5 items, 1,000 gold ahead of Nuke.
10 CS per minute.
Yeah. I mean, I love, like, obviously, getting high CS numbers, great. You know, like, it's impressive. It's cool that we're seeing so many high CS numbers, but if someone has a static shiv, I think we have to take like 50 CS off whatever their total is, because they would have missed those. Let's be honest, they're not Chovy. Caps has always been good at CSing.
Hansama doesn't have it, and he's 300.
Yeah, Hansama doesn't have it.
Credit to Hansama. Great job. Hansama CSing like a champ.
Mikyx ults this game, he just pressed him.
Charge in once again, LeBlanc already down to a 3rd HP as BrokenBlade looks for Adam. The blast cone gets him away from that bear trap on a rope. He's trying to escape. The poachers, though, continue to collapse in as Mikyx goes forward. BrokenBlade once again, the frontline Adam with a stopwatch as Caps looks for that flank position. BDS all hailing the retreat. Will manage to escape, only slightly scathed.
Might be Baron time for G2. BrokenBlade has the TP if he wants to remount. Question is, can BDS get there in time? Adam has TP, so maybe it's a bit of a risky call. Looking for a turn here in one of the bushes, maybe if BDS face check, but Yike should go over the wall.
Nuke going in with a killer instinct.
Oh my god.
3-item Kai'Sa still, even with the nerfs, does a huge amount of damage.
Yeah, maybe they're going to call the Baron off after that one. BDS, you can see 3 items on the AD carries.
He will back away. There was a warding totem in the bush, but he has spotted it. He will clear it out. So.
It's one of those things where you like blast.
BrokenBlade's TP. He's going to the bottom lane.
Is that Caps?
It's Caps,
yeah,
in fact, just pushing in.
Lich Bane.
Nuke is back to answer, though. And he has a TP of his own, so he could join the fight if it begins. Adam has Flash here, no Dominus for 8 seconds time. The Renekton ultimate can be very powerful in fights like this. BDS, no vision in the pit, no control wards for them either. They're putting the bushes in to try and garner a little bit of sight. But soon those will fall down. And with the charge coming in, Yike going in, the Magnus Storm as well. Hansama starts to open up across the wall and already Labrov is down. There's 2, there's 3, G2. Don't even need their mid laner to help them clean up the fights. Crownie flashes away, BrokenBlade dismounted in the middle of his charge. Crownie with a lightning crash might try and turn this one back around. BrokenBlade, a 1/3 of that bar built up to remounting, but the Baron aggroed still, and Hansama takes it out.
G2 split the damage sources of BDS up. Nuke went to go and answer in the bot lane, and Crownie had to stay with the team, but Adam is not a damage threat, which means that the moment G2 saw a window, they forced an engage onto 4. They knew they had more damage, and Caps was even able to get an inhibitor on the bot side. What a creative play that worked out heavily in the favor of G2.
Yeah, that's a situation where if Nuke TPs in to join the fight, Caps is threatening an end, and you don't want to be in those situations where you have a 2-for-2 in a 4v5 because you're behind, and then you just get chased down slowly, and LeBlanc's just pushing in with the static shift Lich Bane combo, so Nuke was kind of forced to stay around there. Surprised how quickly Sheo and Labrov went down. Maybe Yike landed a really good engage onto them. I mean, BrokenBlade ulted the front line, but it was Crownie who lived, so the DPS was alive. I just feel like all the supports around him collapsed and just got shredded straight through. I don't even think... Was Hansama flashing over the wall there?
Oh, he did, yeah. The moment that the engage came through, he flashed, and he just barked it. So, yeah, Hansama did a lot of work. But, yeah, it's very rare that you see a teamfight set up like that. I guess G2 showing a lot of respect to BDS and saying, you know what, this game has gotten late enough. We have to respect the damage.
Nuke and Labrov separated from their team. The killer instinct from Nuke into a flash away from BrokenBlade. Labrov on the wrong side of the rift right now, though. He needs to rejoin with his squad. The Baron buff pushes in. G2 don't have a wave in the top lane, but Caps has 1 in the mid. And he's looking to make it 2 inhibitors to his name in this game.
Oh, Labrov's flanking.
Polymorph. Shirania's Polymorph. He can't get in range. Not quite close enough. And G2 will use that opportunity to open up the top side of the map. BDS really only with their Nexus towers left to defend. Labrov has to flash the bear trap. Glacial Fissure was coming out as well. All 3 inhibitors down now. And it took him a little bit longer than I think we expected, but G2 should be able to close this one out from here.
A one-sided affair, it largely feels, from G2 outside of a couple of plays where they got a little too over-aggressive. They're looking to end game 1 right here, right now.
Adam flashes in, stunned up immediately, but there's just no damage from the rest of the team. Hansama spitting fire and taking out all of BDS. BrokenBlade 805, he went legendary on this Kled as G2 go legendary in game 1.
An impressive performance from G2. A very slow first 10 minutes of the game, but the second that TP was unlocked, we saw the TP play down bot, and then it was just kill after kill after kill, the way in which G2 kind of snowballed that early game. And as we mentioned, outside of a couple of plays where they got too over-aggressive, they gave BDS a couple windows, even after those mistakes, they seemed to adapt well, and then find ways to close out the game. The Baron never really felt like that it was in threat of being flipped. And overall, a very impressive game 1.
Yeah, when BDS found success in Spring, it was very one-dimensional, everyone said, you know, very hyper-carry-ish late-game scaling with things like Cassio and Jinx and then frontline. I think they tried to replicate it a little bit here, but in this current meta, I feel like there's so many champs like LeBlanc and Kled into Renekton. There's so many explosive lanes and side lanes that are available that grouping up becomes a bit tricky when they play these side lanes like the 1-3-1s.
That became very tricky for
And the
BDS.
engage that G2 had.
Yeah, the charge in, the Magnet Storm as well. Perfect from G2 in game 1. We're going to hand it over to Guldborg, who is ready to illustrate something. I'm not sure what, but I'm sure it'll be interesting.
Yeah, thank you very much, Medic. I wanted to make a call back to the BDS formula we talked about in the pregame, which is, of course, what we saw in the success they had in Spring, what they needed to replicate. Now, back in Spring, they're really good at making Adam part of the movements where he got a lane advantage, he started roaming, and then they set it over to the Dragons. So let's have a look at what actually happened in the early game, because they did try and replicate some of their successful moments. In this scenario, BB has been pushed back after unfavorable trade, and there's a stacked wave here. Now, Adam doesn't waste any time with this. You see right now that BDS has actually started up the Drake. So while BB is finally back in the top lane, Adam is actually going to move down in the mid lane and gain a man advantage. Now, Pivotal, it's 5 minutes into the game. BB can't really join the fight here with his TP either. It's not even up, but even if that was the case, he can't. So as soon as G2 sees Adam, they actually back off the Drake. But you can see right now, Yike is actually coming through with the Hex Flash. And the thing is, this Hex Flash is in a perfect position where he's not spotted in vision. BDS doesn't actually have full information, and they lose the Drake because of it. Now in the top lane, when you look at it, BB is already pushing in. Now in the next case scenario, because this is where it gets even more tricky for them, Adam already lost out on his roam. They didn't get the objective, which is usually the success. G2 pulls the reverse. They are the one 10 minutes after the TP has just been unleashed that attacks bot lane. One of the win conditions of BDS as well, and of course G2's own win condition. They make the move first, teleport starts coming through, but it's a wasted TP. Not only that, when you look at the minimap, you can see that Caps will actually be TPing up towards the top side, covering the push in that Adam will now have. They lose no minion wave, they waste the enemy TP, and they get a double kill. I mean, the game's pretty much already over then. That's why it was so one-sided. But I'm going to throw it back to the desk to break the rest of that game down.
Thank you, GB. It was the start that kind of spelled out what we were to expect of the rest of the game. Unfortunately for the side of BDS, taking a page out of their book in terms of G2, but I think G2 just also generally playing towards their own strengths. And this is something we talked about preparing this match as well. Usually when G2 plays BDS, the top lane does not go in the favor of Adam.
Yeah, I mean, last time it was a masterclass for BB, and then this game around as well. Like, we just saw some of the roam plays down towards the bottom side of the map where he clearly got much more value out of the roams than Adam did. But then also he's returning up into the top lane. He's getting a solo kill. Outside of that too, his engage is like, it's pretty easy. Press R, go in with that Kled, but he was always finding the right angles to have the Rell be able to come in and assist.
I know for sure. And just to bring back the memory of what happened the last time, it's like it was the Adams Olaf and he slammed the set, solo killed them under the turret with the trade, and BB just continue in the same fashion. It seems like he has really figured out how he wants to approach a matchup against Adam that is very specific. And BB in general has just been phenomenal in summer. I think that he really found form in MSI, and now that he's, you know, capable of bringing back the Kled that we saw a lot of in winter when they were flexing it, you know, it's just another one of those classics that adds to the arsenal of weapons, especially because Renekton is so meta, and this is a different flavor of what you can pick into it.
Yeah, I also think, like, even looking past the matchup and just looking at the player you're playing versus in the top lane, Kled is kind of a no-brainer pick. Like, playing a champion that has, like, really effective roams either to match what Adam's going to do, because Adam classically would just abandon the lane, or beat them to it. I think BrokenBlade consistently was able to do that, and then also, again, find these angles. Whenever you're overextending in the mid lane, or once those outer turrets start to fall, that's where Kled becomes online. If you're trying to put vision in river, you're extending past your turrets. That makes you very vulnerable, and anytime we saw that, there was, like, snap TPs into ults.
Where is he?
Where is he? Get him back here. We lost the crab came in and actually
No.
ate all of the graphics.
This is what most of BDS saw the whole game, actually.
Oh.
You know, 9 out of 10 of the Kled picks in Worlds qualifying leagues were in Europe.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, Finn.
Where was the other one?
The other one?
It was in LCS.
BCS.
Oh.
That's what I said.
Froggy. Same
Yeah.
difference.
So tough.
Anyways,
Shit.
Anyways, listen, the story of the game was really the Kled engages, because everything cascaded off that for G2. And we were looking for kind of a team fight to make sure that we took a look at some more mechanics, I want to say, because it all went so fast. And you want to take a look at that bear.
Well, I think it was the map play, and this is piggybacking off of what GB showed on the Telestrator, which was like when they roamed bot lane, they're going top lane to pick up. Here, we have 2 TPs coming in, I believe, from G2. So this starts with Adam coming in for pressure inside of this. But when the solo laners reset, it's really interesting because both TPs come out, but one's bot lane, right? Caps sees that he has an angle in bot lane, and I think it's important that Caps goes bot because he's less relevant to the team fights for G2, right? He can pull Nuke, a major damage dealing threat. The last few team fights, Caps has gotten blown up, chain CC by the polymorph, all this stuff. With BrokenBlade in the fight, he can then look for a flank angle, and with BDS playing over this corner of the wall looking for a steal when it's on 3K, they funnel themselves into this choke where the Kled and the Rell can come in. Hans has reached the point where he has the rune on, so we can shred through them here as well.
It's such an important thing here because, sure, Kai'Sa might have TP to match LB, but G2 is so good at assessing their champion's strength. They understand if there's ever a scenario where the Ivern, Lulu, Zeri, Kai'Sa needs to face check into the Kog'Maw Braum, and they can pressure them to actually act into them, then they're going to be in an advantageous position. And I think the story of G2 is just that they're playing at a level where they are really, really squeezing the most out of how much information they're gaining when they're playing. You can see Mikyx is constantly tethering himself to the opposition, which allows the side lane to push deeper. And then slowly, BDS gets more and more suffocated because all times G2 is trying to look for that information, and it's so clean to see how G2 assess that information and act instantaneously as 5, because the moment in time when they chose to engage with that Rell, everyone was on the same page.
Yeah. It feels like there's a flowchart almost with how they're thinking about setting up around the Baron, right? Because if Kai'Sa is to TP, she can't TP reactively after the fight started. It takes too long. They're going to be run over. Like, Kai'Sa has to be in the fight from the get-go. So either Kai'Sa is TPing in, right, to fight for the Baron, in which case G2 can pull away from it because they're not taking it down below 3k HP. And if BDS run into the river, they have a very easy out from that. And then Caps can run away with the entire game. If Kai'Sa doesn't teleport in, then what they did right there, right? At minimum, LeBlanc is getting the inhibitor, and if they see the angle with those players crunching up inside the choke point, they go for the engage, and it looks perfect.
But they get it all. BDS has elected to go to the blue side. If we can put the draft back up from, or put the draft back up, Jesus.
Give me the draft!
Up, rather, from game 1. I can't, no. Production thinks I'm mad at them, but I actually just can't speak.
I'm mad at them for you.
I can't speak. In any case, because when you look at it, there's a lot of, we looked at the BDS formula, right? Someone's gonna have to take over because I need some water. Sorry.
Yeah. TLDR is I want BDS with more options that they can play through right here. It felt like a pretty passive style, which I think G2 have the answer. If you go Cog Braum and you play slow, I don't know. I feel like you're losing.
It's just so hard because here they got to counter and now they need to blind, and that allows G2 to counter, and that's where they're most dangerous. I'm curious to see what they look for first pick, because other than Rell, what should they grab?
I think they go Rell and we get some carries.
All right.
For Yike.
Seems like my analysts are also at a loss, so I hope it's better in the camp of BDS. We'll be taking a quick break, but when we come back, it is game 2 between G2 Esports and BDS.
Be invested by G2 as he's going to charge behind the tower. Flash Magnet Storm. Crownie trying to get away, but there's no time on his flash.
It should be good, no?
Yeah, it looks good.
Kai'Sa is 1 HP. Kai'Sa is 1 HP. Kai'Sa is 1 HP.
Nice, guys. I'll try to give it to you.
But the unbreakable wall comes in now. And G2 exactly that. Cancel gets shut down.
You just gave Kai'Sa 2 shutdowns.
Yes, I knew it all along. You can never lose faith.
Guys, look, I will ult, okay? Get vision here, maybe? Yeah, get vision. Don't hit it.
But soon those will fall down. And with the charge coming in, Yike going in, the Magnus Storm as well. Hunt Summer starts to open up across the water already. LeBlanc is down. There's 2, there's 3, G2.